Ernie and Sybil Stokes' marriage is a sacred bond.
They were soulmates. You could just tell that they loved each other.
Very handsome.
We all just thought they were just the sweetest couple.
But looks can be deceiving.
I knew there was something that wasn't right.
Faith will be tested.
He was a God-fearing man.
And bonds will be broken.
He wanted somebody that he could have sex with.
Tell him that I ain't getting what I should be getting at home.
There's no telling how far they will go to keep their secrets hidden.
The longer we talked and the more we looked, the more we came to realize that that's not what happened.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. Life in Centerville, Alabama, 50 miles south of Birmingham, revolves around two things: church and family. 17-year-old Sybil Davis is dedicated to both.
Sybil had strong faith. She grew up, our family went to church from the day we were born. We loved going to church.
Hi.
Hi.
So, we still on for Saturday night?
When Ernie Stokes asks her out, she has one condition.
I'll go out with you if you promise me one thing.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, I know. I promise. Every Sunday.
It was very important for Ernie to share Sybil's faith to Sybil.
Okay.
Charming and fearless, Ernie is irresistible.
He was a character. He was real likable. He was friendly.
Ernie was just a little boy. Cute as a button, just attractive to her.
Okay, so this should be fun, okay? It's like a crane game, all right?
Back.
Back.
A little bit. Okay,
All right.
I think you're good.
Right,
A little forward.
Right here. Is it this there? Right there. I think I got it right here, right? I think I'm close
Ernie
enough.
loved her personality. She never stopped smiling when she was awake. She always smiled. They were soulmates. You could just tell that they loved each other.
I think Ernie saw in Sybil stability, a foundation.
I've got something for you. Sybil Davis, you are the one. You are the absolute love of my life.
Aren't you gonna get down on one knee?
Well, I thought I'd skip the preliminaries. That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh.
We were just elated, really. He just became part of our family.
And go. Oh.
6 years into the marriage,
Come on, guys. Time to go to church.
the couple have two young kids, Travis and Daniel.
Sybil and Ernie were great as parents.
Come on, you can go.
They're growing up in this sort of picturesque, small, rural Alabama town.
But problems soon surface.
I love you. I can't even touch you at night.
Do you think I'd choose to feel this
Oh,
way?
please, it's the same story every single night. Come on.
I just get these headaches.
Ernie said, every time I want to have sex with Sybil, she gets a headache.
Sybil does suffer from severe migraines, but there's more to this story.
I said, Sybil, what's wrong? And she said, it just hurts so bad. She was not as open to what he wanted to do in the bedroom versus Sybil being maybe objecting to the way he wanted to perform in the bedroom. There was some kind of disagreement there that they probably never worked out.
Sybil?
I'm fine.
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell wonder if the young couple can survive their differences.
Sybil and Ernie have a real dilemma with their sexual appetites. It seems that Ernie's desire to engage in sexual activities is much higher than Sybil's.
The way in which Ernie reacts to this, I think, is going to depend a lot on the extent to which he sort of accepts that Sybil really wants to be having a lot of sex with me, but she can't, and I feel sorry about that, versus, yeah, Sybil has these headaches, and I feel sorry, but she also doesn't really want to be having as much sex as I do, and so she's using these as an excuse, and I feel rejected by that.
This oftentimes ends up being a trigger for someone to either find an affair, turn to pornography, or pull away from the relationship.
Ernie takes matters into his own hands.
Sybil would tell me that Ernie would get up 1 hour early and get dressed for work, and he would go to the donut shop to drink coffee and see a girlfriend.
Perhaps it's just playful banter. Perhaps it's just flirting. But Sybil suspects the worst.
I asked Sybil, I said, "What do you mean? How does this make you feel?" And she said, "Well, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't stop it."
I'm just getting coffee.
Every morning?
It's talking, okay? That's all it is.
Every single morning?
Sybil, really? You know what? I don't even need this.
She said, "This is every weekday morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday." And she said, "I can't make him stop."
If Sybil can't make him stop, the question is, what will?
He'd get mad over some slight things that nobody would really get mad at.
She had to do everything for him.
Ernie Stokes is spending too much time down at the local coffee shop and not enough time with his wife, Sybil. And Sybil seems to accept that.
Sybil confronts him, and Ernie just brushes it off. Ernie says, "It's no big deal."
We'll get through this.
Sybil took the attitude that she did because we grew up not to divorce. You don't divorce no matter what.
Eventually, Ernie gives up his daily visits to the coffee shop.
Sybil and Ernie weathered the ups and downs of their marriage really well.
And after more than 20 years of marriage,
Come on, let's go.
they're still going strong.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We don't want to keep everybody waiting.
Ernie and Sybil were real close.
Very handsome.
They were always holding hands. They were always together. We all just thought they were just the sweetest couple.
They were well liked, they were well respected and established. People not only wanted to be their friend, but they wanted to be like them.
And while Ernie's still working in construction, he reserves his passion for the church.
Well, down here in the South, people are, almost everyone is involved with some type of organized religion. Not only is this a religious thing, but it's also a social activity and a social part of many people's lives.
Whatever the church was doing, Sybil and Ernie were there. They loved to work in the church.
Their popularity and faith land Ernie a spot as a pastor at their church.
He praised the Lord every day, you know, preacher for his.
He was a God-fearing man. And he was just, you know, he seemed like he loved everybody. He wasn't too uppity up. He was just downright, you know, good old country boy.
Now, it's clear to me that working together on this is better than working apart.
Ernie's parishioners faithfully turned to him.
Come see me anytime.
It was a small town. Everybody knew the preacher right there, and if they needed anything, they knew that they could go to him.
But giving advice doesn't pay. And while Ernie's making good money in construction, he's spending more than he earns.
He had a lot of nice things. He had a shop it cost probably just as much as the house. He had a brand new tractor. He had brand new lawnmowers.
Ernie would want to buy something before Sybil thought he should, and it would just cause him a little stress financially.
What is it, hon? I can explain.
Explain that.
Well, that is this. The new model ATV all-terrain vehicle. It's fantastic. It works in dirt, mud, and on hills. We could do this on the weekend.
Oh, well, why didn't you ask me?
I was afraid you'd say we didn't have enough money.
But we talk to each other about this sort of thing. We have to discuss this sort of thing.
I know,
do we have the money? We don't have the money for that.
It's fine. Next time, I'll ask you, okay? Thanks, Jelly Bean.
To help with the strained finances, Ernie finds another job at the local funeral parlor.
It's kind of one of those businesses where people kind of look to us as helping them through a pretty tough situation. And he found it to be, like we do, spiritually rewarding to help people in their darkest time.
But Ernie is about to face a dark time of his own.
He had a welder that they had assigned for him to use to do some welding. He had a short in it.
A massive 240-volt shock stops his heart.
So we went straight to the hospital, and she stood by Ernie the whole time he was in the hospital, about 1 or 1.5 weeks.
I thought I'd lost you.
Ernie may have avoided serious injury, but the accident has a lasting impact.
He just became like a little child. She had to do everything for him. Because he couldn't drive, he couldn't remember how to take a bath, where to come to the table to eat. It was a heavy burden for both of them. It was very hard for Sybil.
Sybil has been thrust into a caregiver role, and it's stressful. It's hard. It wears a person down mentally, emotionally, physically, especially if the person who is ill or injured becomes irritable and harder to deal with interpersonally. Even if that's understandable, it doesn't make it easy.
At one point, Ernie was this, strong, sort of assertive guy, and now he needs to be taken care of in a whole new way. That has to affect Sybil, and she's a nurturing person. But there has to be an impact on her, and I've got to guess she's wondering, is this what my life is gonna be? Who am I dealing with now?
Ernie soon resumes part-time work at the funeral home, but he's not yet firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. I will let him know. Bye.
Is that for me?
Yeah. It was, oh, wait a minute, it'll come to me.
It wasn't the same Ernie. He couldn't remember stuff. He would forget things.
It's all right, Ernie. It was important. They'll call back.
He had short-term memory problems. I'd be working doing something and he would just go blank.
This is only the beginning of Sybil's concerns.
He got in his truck one day, and he just started driving.
And And then they started calling. They called us to see if we had, called him into work or something, because he didn't show up at church.
Ernie! Ernie, are you home?
She feared for his life in a real way. I mean, she was concerned for her husband, and it was like a little boy now.
She would know, she would realize that it wasn't the same person she was in love with.
Ernie's personality changed. He would go places and not tell her where he was going, and she wouldn't know who he was with.
No one knows where he's gone.
Ernie. He wanted somebody that he could have sex with.
Nobody else knew. It was a secret. It was behind closed doors.
After a near-fatal electrocution, Pastor Ernie Stokes has recovered in body, but not in mind, leading to his unexpected disappearance.
Ernie, is that you? Well, where is he? Is he okay?
200 miles away, local police finally track Ernie down. He'd been heading south towards Mississippi.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
She got the call from the state troopers. Off she went, and she brought him home.
We'll get through this.
Sybil waits anxiously for him to get better.
I'm sorry, Sybil. I just wanted to go to the store. And I didn't mean to cause you any trouble.
I know, Ernie. Let's pray. Let us renew our strength in the Lord. Let us soar on wings like eagles.
She would pray every single night. She would pray when she wakes up, and she'd pray when she goes to sleep.
And finally, after another few months, Ernie's almost back to normal.
And how many hours do I have to do before I get my license? You don't say. And I'll be able to fly anywhere in the country.
Now that he's better, Ernie's bad habits kick in again.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
You've got to be kidding me.
Sybil was not crazy about Ernie learning how to fly a plane. She felt like if he learned how to fly, then he would want to buy an airplane. And airplanes are not cheap.
Imagine. You and me up there.
No, Ernie. No, there's still days you don't know which way's up, which way's down.
I'm fine. The doctor gave me a clean bill of health, and he said that I'm fine!
It just kind of changed his personality a little bit. He'd get mad over some slight things that nobody would really get mad at.
It seems there's no convincing him. In addition to Ernie's wild behavior, Sybil is hit by another blow.
She was volunteering a couple of days a week, and they wanted her to help move a big dresser. It strained her back. It was too heavy.
Could you put these in water for me? Thank you kindly. Wow, look at you. I think you need to be tucked in a little bit. You okay?
Yeah.
You warm enough?
Yeah, the doctor said that it's a pinched nerve on my spine. I might need surgery.
You know, no matter what happens, don't worry about it, okay? Because I'm going to take good care of you.
But Ernie's promise isn't exactly honest.
He wanted somebody that he could have sex with when he wanted to, without any hesitation. And Sybil couldn't do it at the time. She was a lady in their church that they pastored. And she needed someone to talk to. So Ernie started talking to her, counseling her.
Sometimes easier if we share the burden.
So he starts counseling her. They strike up a conversation. He starts hitting on her. Meetings after that, but then things become more elaborate.
He touches me, but I feel nothing. Nothing.
A woman has needs.
Yes, she does.
But a man should hold fast to his wife.
But he's not holding fast to me.
Instead of waiting for Sybil to heal, he chose to go the other way out to another woman.
So you have a pastor here who's known for being a family guy, but then on the other hand, you have this man who's taking secret weekend trips with his mistress to Atlanta. It was a little bit risque, especially in this town and at this time.
Sybil had enough intuition in her that she knew if something was right or wrong. She could tell if something was off kilter.
Where have you been?
I've been in Atlanta, practicing my flying. How are you feeling? You feeling any better?
A Baptist preacher is supposed to live at the foot of the cross. He's not supposed to be doing what they do, but it happens. They're human.
Nobody else knew. It was a secret. It was behind closed doors.
What would the folks at church think?
She knew how much those people at Thomas Mill loved him, and I think that she really thought that this was going to be devastating for them to hear. And basically, it was going to ruin his career as a preacher.
Why don't you tell him that I ain't getting what I should be getting at home? Tell him that.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Ernie and Sybil try to repair their relationship by taking their own weekend trip to Atlanta.
Obviously, it didn't go good.
Ernie. Yeah?
On the way home on Sunday, she calls multiple times.
Look, now's really not a good time, okay? I'll call you back later. All right now, bye. Oh.
And finally, after 10, 15 calls, Sybil tells Ernie,
turn that thing off.
Now, Sybil! It's my job. I'm just helping her. Hi. Look.
Sybil, I think in some ways, was an idealist, and she thought that if she asked him to stop, finally, when she got to that point, that he would. Well, little did she know, he was too deeply rooted in this other lifestyle to really ever be able to stop.
Starting with Ernie's recovery from his accident, everything became about how to please himself, how to meet his own needs. When I think about what's going on for Sybil, here she is helpless, and she's trying to think, how do I hold on to this man when I don't feel like I have any control?
In other words, he probably said, hey, she's not doing her wifely duty, and since she's not, then I don't have to do my husbandly duty of staying faithful. And I think that to whatever extent it were true, it didn't justify the vow breakage and the going outside of the marriage.
I'm gonna go upstairs. I have a headache.
Okay. I got that funeral to figure out.
No one could have imagined the nightmare to come.
Sybil was asleep. She turned in early. I was doing some research for a sermon, and then there was a car at the front of the house. I thought it was my son.
Ernie portrayed it as a home invasion robbery where someone rang his doorbell. When he opened the door, he was doused with some sort of chemical and then hit with something hard like a brick. He's in and out of a state of consciousness. After coming to, he's able to get to his pickup truck, and he was able to call 911 from that phone.
Yes, I need emergency assistance right away.
It's a home invasion gone horribly wrong.
I was very sad, surprised, in shock.
Or so it seems.
I knew there was something that wasn't right. I mean, I had to know. The longer we talked and the more we looked, the more we came to realize that it's not what happened.
Ernie Stokes is injured and his wife Sybil is dead after a brutal home invasion. Ernie is taken to the ER, where the family is in pieces.
Everybody was crying. They was just sad. I mean, it was a sad time, and they just wanted to be there for him, and he was there for, you know, my family, to let them know that, hey, everything's gonna be okay. It's all right.
Chuck Martin, funeral director and acting coroner, has to certify the death.
It's tough enough when you have to go out and work on somebody that you know but you're not close to. The loss of Sybil hurt us almost like losing a sister. She had grown to be part of the business and part of the family.
Investigators take stock of the scene.
There was a single .22 shell casing was found on the bed. We get a forensics report, and it states that Mrs. Stokes died from a single gunshot wound to the head and looked like a .22 long rifle that may have been used in a crime.
In the basement, they also find a cache of rifles. Turns out they all belong to Ernie and Sybil's son.
One of the sons was going on vacation. He didn't want to leave his rifles at home while he was away, so he brought them to Mr. Stokes' home and for safekeeping.
None of them appear to have been fired, and none of them is a .22. Outside, there's evidence that gasoline was used in the attack.
So we did find a solo cup on the scene that had deteriorated from whatever was in it, and we later determined that it was gasoline.
A worrisome theory is beginning to unfold.
It didn't take very long to kind of start seeing holes in that story. They had to come up with this plan. We're gonna get a solo cup, put gas in it. There just happens to be a brick over here, we're gonna use that. Mrs. Stokes' purse had been turned over, but her money and credit cards were still there. There was nothing to indicate that someone had just gone through the house looking for things to steal.
The longer we talked and the more we looked, the more we came to realize that that's not what happened. Why would somebody shoot somebody in a bed asleep and not shoot him at the door? If they want to kill somebody, he would have been the first one to go.
You know, a dead man can't testify against you. Why leave him alive?
Then, another surprise.
Dispatch at 911 called me and said, you need to call so-and-so at DCH. I speak to the lady that's the charge nurse. She asked me what happened. I said, well, really, I don't know at this point. And I said, why you ask? She said, these wounds are not consistent with the story he's telling us, because the wounds that I seen on Ernie looked like carpet burns, like someone had scratched something, a rough surface against your face. I've seen people's head busted that got hit by a brick that didn't look like nothing to fit his story, no.
What exactly is Ernie hiding?
So, what happened to your face?
I was assaulted with a brick.
What about the ammunition in your basement?
Down in the basement of the home, theirs was basically like an apartment. We were looking throughout the room, and as I was feeling around up there, I felt something, and as I pulled it down, it was a box of Remington 22 long rifle shells.
The same caliber of rounds used to shoot Sybil.
So these 22 rounds just magically showed up in your house then?
I have never seen them before in my life.
In light or darkness, worshiping our Savior now and forever.
At Sybil's funeral,
Amen.
The air hangs heavy with grief.
I would like to thank you all for coming here in remembrance of our dear Sybil. Thank you.
My family was traumatized. They just couldn't believe. They were in shock and just in there, I guess, trying to wake up from a nightmare. They just couldn't believe it happened.
Ernie presented himself to be a grieving husband. He cried, he hugged, he did everything that you would expect somebody who'd lost a loved one to do. But I knew there was something that wasn't right. I mean, I had to know. I just didn't say anything.
I don't find anything credible about Ernie's story. His injuries don't match what he claimed happened. There are not typically home invasions where he lives. Nothing was taken. Ernie's counting on the fact that everyone's just gonna believe because he's a pastor and he's done a lot of good things that he's innocent.
Ernie is acting like he can rely on literally decades now of having ingratiated himself with these people in the church and convinced them that he's a pious, religious Christian guy. I'm skeptical that there's any real genuine grief or any real genuine remorse on Ernie's part.
As the investigation continues, police keep a closer eye on Ernie and everyone he meets, including acquaintance Suzette Sims.
Well,
Suzette went to visit Mr. Stokes to pay her respects.
I just wanted to see if there's anything I can do.
Well,
That's very kind of you.
And it was at that point that Mr. Stokes made Suzette feel very uncomfortable. They had just had the funeral for his wife, and he's already being flirtatious. We were starting to find out that Ernie was not the person that he had portrayed himself to be.
Suzette tells her husband, a state trooper, that the grieving widower has just made a pass at her. Investigators seize their chance, a chance to get something incriminating on tape.
We felt like he would feel comfortable talking to her, and we asked if she would be willing to record those conversations.
While investigators prepare Suzette to go undercover, they further examine the evidence and find nothing that links Ernie to Sybil's death.
Very significant that we can't find a murder weapon. I mean, that would solve a lot of problems, clear a lot of things.
But they do have the box of shells found in the house.
We needed to find out where those bullets came from.
The police track them to a local gas station.
I noticed that there were cameras in the store, and I asked the cashier if you would go back and look at all of your video, and if you find anything that looks like Mr. Stokes purchasing those bullets.
A few days later, they hit the jackpot.
She discovered video footage of Mr. Stokes actually going up to their counter where they sell that ammunition. And he's clearly on camera making that purchase.
The video catches Ernie in a lie, but it's not enough to charge him with murder.
So why are you buying 22 rounds for a gun you don't even own?
I wanted to go bush hogging on my tractor, shoot some rats.
You care to explain why you're hiding your face then?
As an investigator, you may have a gut feeling, but gut feelings, you're not able to take gut feelings to the prosecutor. You have to have evidence.
Evidence they're hoping to get from Suzette Sims.
Hello. Yes, we must be psychically connected. I was just thinking about you.
Oh? Thinking nice thoughts, I hope?
Oh, dirty thoughts more like.
Well, I didn't know you were such a dirty old man.
Oh, you know, there might be snow on the mountaintop, but there's fire in the furnace.
It's pretty apparent that he's more concerned with flirting with Suzette than anything else.
But this investigation is about to take a turn no one saw coming.
They could no longer live with the things that they had done.
The town of Centerville, Alabama is alive with whispers that Ernie Stokes, a beloved pastor and husband, is involved in his wife Sybil's death.
Half of the people believe that he is absolutely guilty. The other side believes that Ernie Stokes they know could not have done anything like this. He wasn't capable.
With no direct evidence, the police are reluctant to charge Ernie with murder.
Because Ernie was the kind of person that you had better prove by beyond a shadow of a doubt that he did this.
Which gets even harder to do when a mysterious letter is received.
During the course of the investigation, we received an anonymous letter stating that this particular individual was having a change of heart, that they could no longer live with the things that they had done.
While the police investigate the letter, they finally get a lead from Ernie's daughter-in-law.
She's inquiring on when she can get the weapons that were taken into evidence back. She asked, what about the 22? I'm like, what 22 rifle are you talking about? And she states that it's a Marlin 22.
The missing .22 rifle matches the shell and the gunshot wound that killed Sybil, meaning the murder weapon could already have been in the Stokes house at the time of the murder. But despite an extensive search, the gun itself is still missing.
It's real lonely up there.
Police also encouraged Suzette to continue her delicate dance with Ernie.
I could never abide being alone.
Suzette Sims was really start to turn over rocks and see what was underneath.
That operation must have been pretty rough on Sybil.
The sex just dried right up altogether. Except when she took those pills, then she was so out of it. She didn't care one way or the other.
He talks about not being able to have a sexual relationship with Mrs. Stokes because of her medication.
Why not just get a divorce?
Well, I'm a pastor. That was never an option.
He felt like divorce would hurt his ministry and hurt his, basically his reputation.
And that's why...
Somewhere towards the end of that conversation, he admits,
that is why I killed him.
The last words at the very end of the tape, it said, "That's why I killed." And as soon as he said killed, the tape's cut off. Everything just went off.
That is why I killed him.
They have enough to make an arrest. Police believe Ernie planned the killing after Sybil found out about his affair.
Ernie.
We know that the weekend prior to Mrs. Stokes' murder, that there's an argument as they drive home from a trip from Atlanta.
Sybil had enough, and she had finally started the conversation with her husband of, hey, I know what you're doing, and I'm not gonna stand for it.
And not only that, Ernie's mistress had also threatened to leave him.
What is going on here?
I can't do this.
Don't worry about it. I will take care of it.
He saw his wife Sybil as a very clear roadblock to getting the lifestyle that he wanted and the woman that he wanted.
He felt like maybe this is the time I may need to do something about what's going on.
I'm gonna go upstairs. I have a headache.
Okay.
This man truly thought that if he staged his wife's murder, that if he staged this intruder, made it look like he was also the victim and this grieving husband and father and pastor, that he would ultimately get away with this, save his reputation, and then go on with another woman.
Then another twist. The anonymous letter sent to the sheriff's office, supposedly from the perpetrator, is proven to be written by Ernie Stokes himself.
There were so many similarities to his writings, grammar, spelling in those letters. They were very, very consistent.
While sociopaths are often skilled at manipulating other people, and some people describe them as intelligent, they also often have huge blind spots. They'll make stupid mistakes out of overconfidence in their abilities. And I think you totally see that here with Ernie. He makes some really stupid mistakes. One of them is sending the letter. The other one is telling the woman in the graveyard that he's guilty.
One of the things that we know about narcissistic sociopaths is they will often play the victim because they believe they are the victim. And this is what it sounds like Ernie is doing. Poor me, my wife had back problems. Poor me, I had to have sex with her when she was basically sedated, which was a terrible thing for me. Poor me, I'm so church-going and I'm a pastor that I can't divorce my wife. And so, because of all of that horrible stuff, I had to kill her. And you should feel sorry for me and understand that instead of looking at me as a bad person who took someone's life.
Ernie Stokes pleads guilty to manslaughter. He is sentenced to 20 years, the maximum allowed by state law.
The crime divided Centerville pretty bad. Some church members, believed it, and some till this day denied. And he was one of my best friends and confidant, and it hurt for a while. Then I got mad.
I just want to know why. I mean, if he'll ever tell the truth, But I always love him. He's my granddad at the end of the day, but there's a lot of hate there towards what he did.
I don't think he got the punishment he deserved. But I'm not on the jury and I'm not the judge in this case, so that's up to somebody else.
Sybil's memory shines bright.
She will never die in my heart. She will never die in anybody's heart. Miss Sybil will always be remembered. She will never die.